When leaders walk in the room, you know that they're in the room. They might not have said a word, but the energy shifts. Are you showing up with a level of confidence, not arrogance, that shows people that you are ready for leadership? You're ready for promotion. You're ready for the career shift that's ultimately going to help improve student achievement, that you are able to support teachers in a way that helps everyone in the school community reach the goal of helping students be the best that they can be. What is your posture? What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders land their first leadership role, navigate complex dynamics, enhance communication skills, and drive instructional excellence. Today's topic is why you're struggling to land your first leadership role and how to fix it. You know, there are a number of reasons as to why you might be struggling to land that first leadership role. Some of it might be, or one reason might be because of the lack of opportunity. Another might be because of the lack of exposure. See, regardless of what the reason is, the goal is for you to land the role that you desire, that you currently desire, right? You are desiring some sort of promotion or a career shift as it relates to you transitioning from being a classroom teacher to a school leader. And so today I want to go over 5 reasons as to why you might be struggling to land your first leadership role and how to fix it. So number 1 is that your resume sounds like a teacher, not a leader. You're not being overlooked, you're being misunderstood. And so when we talk about what your resume looks like, you truly want to focus on shifting the language to a leadership lens, right? A lot of times on our resumes, we have so many things that we have done as teachers in our classroom. However, you want to start shifting the language to talk more about what you have done in your leadership role, specifically in your classroom, right? Because you might not have had the capacity to do things outside of your classroom. So what that means is you want to start replacing your teaching tasks with leadership impact. And your leadership impact is really going to come from you talking about the data that shows or that foreshadows how you will lead once you get that role, right? You want to align your language with what hiring teams are looking for. So here's a strategy. When you look at the job description in terms of the role that you are applying to, you want to tailor the language in your resume to match that language. Think about it. The hiring committee or the individual in human resources has created this job description. And so you want to make sure that the language on your resume also matches that description. Language matters. Use verbs like led, facilitated, coached, and implemented. Those are leadership words. That is leadership language. What type of professional development session have you led? Have you facilitated a team meeting specifically regarding data? Have you coached or mentored a first-year teacher, somebody that's new to the building? What type of program have you implemented or an initiative that you implemented that shows that you have a significant change or you have facilitated change in increasing student achievement? What have you done that you can tailor the language and use a leadership lens as opposed to specifically talking about your teaching qualities? Yes, you are an amazing teacher. You have years of experience, but what leadership aspects can you talk about on your resume that gives people an idea of the type of leader that you will be? So number 1 was your resume sounds like a teacher, not a leader. Number 2, You're relying on teaching skills instead of demonstrating leadership readiness. Leadership isn't a promotion, it's a posture. It's about mindset, impact, and readiness, not rank. I want to briefly talk about posture, right? Leadership has a posture. When you see somebody that is a leader, you see the type of posture that they carry themselves with, the way that they exude themselves. It's just leadership, right? You have some of the most historic leaders in history, regardless of whether you like them or not, whether you agree with their policies and procedures or not, right? You understand that that is a leader. When leaders walk in the room, you know that they're in the room. They might not have said a word, but the energy shifts. Are you showing up with a level of confidence, not arrogance, that shows people that you are ready for leadership? You're ready for promotion. You're ready for the career shift that's ultimately going to help improve student achievement, that you are able to support teachers in a way that helps everyone in the school community reach the goal of helping students be the best that they can be. What is your posture? And here's a practical thing that you can start working on. Start working on your posture right now, regardless of the leadership role that you're in. Carry yourself with a level of confidence, right? And even if you have to engage in self-talk to get yourself to a point of believing that you are the leader that you always wanted to be, then that's what you have to do. But leadership does have a posture. You know when leaders walk in the room. We all do. And so when you walk in the room for that interview, or even just with communicating with other leaders, do you also have that leadership posture? Again, not arrogance, but confidence. So map your teaching strengths to your leadership competencies, right? You want to start talking about culture building. You want to start talking about coaching. Those are some of the things you're going to be doing when you step into that first leadership role. And also decision making, which is big. You are a decision maker when it comes to being a school leader. When you land that role, you are a decision maker, right? And people are going to constantly come to you for solutions. And are you able to point them in the right direction, even if you don't have the solution? Because pointing somebody in the right direction when you don't have a solution is actually a solution, right? One of the things that you will notice when you step into school leadership is that you don't have all the answers and no one does. But if you are able to point somebody in the right direction, somebody else might have the solution and you ultimately have helped solve the problem. Practice explaining how your classroom experience scales to school-wide leadership. That's one of the primary aspects of you being in an interview, you looking at your resume and kind of tailoring your language to leadership. It's how can you frame your classroom experiences that show that you can scale that. You can scale what you're currently doing. You can scale your influence and your impact in a school-wide environment so that it's not just your students who are benefiting from your leadership, but it's also teachers, staff, and in the entire school community. Yes, you are one person, but ultimately you are part of a team when you step into school leadership. And so you have to understand that the team is only as good as the individuals who are constantly working on personal and professional development and scaling what they do to the level that's going to impact other people. So number 2 was you're relying on teaching skills instead of demonstrating your leadership readiness. Number 3, you haven't clearly articulated why you want to lead. You already have what it takes, but now you need to show it like how a leader would, right? And so here's the thing, right? You already have what it takes. I think sometimes we try to focus too much on years of experience as opposed to understanding the why behind why we want to get into leadership in the first place. Can you give the hiring committee a glimpse into your mindset as it relates to you and leadership? Yes, you might know the mission, the vision, the core values of the school district that you're interviewing for, of that particular school community that you are interviewing for. However, what is your mission, your personal mission? What is your vision? What are your core values that can come out in your interview that show that you are a good fit for the school community that you are applying to? What are your core values, right? People want to also see your mindset because, again, you are going to be a decision maker when you step into school leadership, and you have not, and nobody will have all of the experiences for every scenario that is going to happen in the school building or in your department if you decide that you want to go into being a director or an instructional coach or something along those lines, a supervisor. However, if you can demonstrate what your mindset is, people can then look at the decision making or kind of, foreshadow the decision making that you're going to engage in, and then see, okay, this person is going to make decisions that are best for students, that are best for kids, because I understand what their mindset is. I understand they have articulated what their core values are. And so you need to know your personal core values, your personal mission, your personal vision beyond what you have researched for the district that you are applying to, because that is equally, if not more, important. And so I want you to keep that in mind. Right? Why do you want to get into leadership, and why now? What is the difference between you getting into leadership now, but what about last year or 3 years ago or 5 years ago? Like, what is the difference? And can you articulate that? I want you to keep that in mind. Start to use stories when you go to your interview that show your initiative, it shows your collaboration, but also shows your results. Leadership is about results at the end of the day. And I'm not just talking about data and increasing student achievement to make sure that students are increasing their grades and becoming better scholars. I'm talking about the results in terms of you supporting other people and doing things that other people might not necessarily want to do. That is a result as well. Are you willing to do things that other people might not be willing to do? Because leadership goes beyond the glitz and glamour of, facilitating a professional development session. It goes beyond facilitating a PLC. It goes beyond instructing people in terms of being an instructional leader and getting into classrooms. Are you able to demonstrate the results that you can get as a leader by influencing others and getting the results ultimately that the school community is looking for? Number 3 was you haven't clearly articulated why you want to lead. Number 4, you're waiting instead of taking strategic action. Here's the thing. I have spoken with some aspiring leaders who are waiting on their opportunity as opposed to being strategic with their actions, right? I know that there are some people that have the experience that do things outside of school. Maybe you might be a director of a summer school, of a camp, a summer camp, right? You have all of these leadership experiences. However, when it comes to you landing the role, you are struggling because you're not taking action in the specific role of trying to be an assistant principal, right? Trying to be a supervisor. There are strategic things that you can do besides sitting back and just applying and applying and applying. Have you spoken with the administrators in your current building to see what their experiences are, to see what their journey is, to see what their advice is? Have you reached out to them for mentorship and for coaching? Have you spoken to your building principal and made them aware of you applying to different districts and trying to get involved with different building and school-wide initiatives that are going to help the school community, right? That's first and foremost. But then it's going to help you position your resume in a way that stands out from other people because you have experience that other people don't. Have you done these things, or are you just sitting back and you're waiting and you're going to apply and see what happens? Guess what? It works for some people, but other people might need additional support. And if that's you, I encourage you to take advantage of the resources that already exist in your network, in your school community. There is a wealth of knowledge. You don't know who your administrators know. You don't know their path unless you speak to them to see what their journey was like and what they did to get to where they currently are. Sometimes we have to get out of our ego and get out of our own way and reach out to people. We have to take strategic action. I want you to understand that here's some practical things that you can do in terms of taking strategic action. Rework your resume this week to reflect leadership. Again, in a previous episode, I talked about it is hiring season. And so the job postings they're coming up. And I want you to be ready. So this week, next week, I want you to focus on reworking your resume to reflect leadership, not just teaching experience. Record and review answers to the top 3 interview questions, right? You can even Google this. You can use ChatGPT you can use any type of AI tool to gather the data in terms of, primary or top or common interview questions that will be asked to aspiring school leaders. See what it says and then practice. Reach out to a coach or a mentor for feedback and for strategy. Again, sometimes we have to understand that our opportunities are going to come on the other side of our strategic action. We can't always wait and sit back and be passive in our approach toward getting to where we want to be. Take strategic action, not just action, right? Because if you're not taking strategic action and you're just taking action, you can be doing things and just be experiencing some movement, but not necessarily action, right? And so I want you to be strategic in the actions that you are taking. Again, reach out to your resources. Ask questions, be a student, let go of your ego, and connect with others who are where you want to be. So number 4 was you're waiting instead of taking strategic action. And lastly, number 5, you're trying to figure it out alone. You don't have to do this alone. Your breakthrough starts with one message, meaning one message to somebody and reaching out. Here's one thing that I learned, right? People enjoy talking about themselves. So what I mean by that is if you reach out to somebody that you admire, if you reach out to somebody that is where you want to be in terms of they are currently a school leader and you're asking them questions, a lot of times they'll give you the blueprint in terms of what they did to get to where they currently are, because they enjoy talking about the journey and what it took for them to become a school leader. And so use that to your advantage. Use that to your advantage. Surround yourself with people who are walking the same path as you, but also surround yourself with people who are a few steps ahead of you, because they can give you insight into areas where you don't have knowledge. We have to get out of our ego. We have to be humble leaders. And if you are going to do that because you want to get to where you want to be, I promise you it's going to help you and serve you well along your school leadership journey. If you are someone who needs additional support in terms of coaching, in terms of mentorship, I've just launched my coaching program. It's an 8-week curriculum-based coaching program called Elevate Your Impact. And you get one-on-one coaching, and I help you position yourself for the promotion and for the career shift that you truly desire, because you deserve it. And I understand the value in leadership. I understand the value in coaching because I have a coach. And I understand that there are major shifts that I'm able to experience and have a solid foundation that positions me for where I ultimately want to be, to make the impact I want to make. So if that's you, reach out, send me a direct message, and we can connect to see if Elevate Your Impact is going to be the program for you. I promise you, that coaching and mentorship is a game changer, and it is a strategy towards getting to where you want to be. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, share it with someone else. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.
I love that you talked about mindset, because mindset is extremely important as you become a school leader. And so that leads us into our second complexity, which is navigating the learning curve, right? Whenever you are promoted to the next level in your career, you will always begin as a novice. So it doesn't matter that you were an effective classroom teacher, you have raving reviews from your students. Becoming a school leader is a different skill set. And so we need to start teaching aspiring school leaders that it takes a level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness to understand just because you got results doesn't mean you're going to get results here. You need to work at this. And so one of the things I constantly think about is the fact that the learning curve can be steep. As a teacher, I'm walking into the building with a set schedule. As a leader, I might have a set schedule if I'm planning properly, but it might immediately become obsolete as soon as I walk in the building. The learning curve that I had to navigate was I'm walking in the building with my bags on. Teachers are firing questions at me. I haven't even made it to my desk yet. How am I navigating that? With being tactful.